Hey guys, Jen here, the Feel Good Life Coach. Welcome to day 3 of Worthy as Fuck, my 3-part series on reclaiming your worthiness. So if you haven't already checked out days 1 and 2, be sure to do that because I cover some seriously important stuff. Day 1 was all about where unworthiness comes from and what to do about it, because obviously you need to know where it comes from before you can actually make any changes. The second day, we talked about, really what unworthiness does to you, what it does to your life, what it does to you, and how to start really getting back to that worthiness that you've had when you were born, right? Because we are born worthy and it gets stripped away from us over the course of our life. So I won't go into all the details of the previous 2 days because you can just go watch those videos right now on my Facebook page, facebook.com/thefeelgoodlife. Or just scroll on the page that you're on right now if you're watching this. But I know I'm going to be sharing this in some of my Facebook groups and things like that, so you may not actually be seeing this on my personal page. All right, so for today, we are going to wrap things up with talking about how to reclaim your worthiness. So if you're watching live and you have questions or comments, just drop them below. If you're watching the replay, same thing. I will come back and check them later. So today I'm just going to kind of dive right in. Like I said, I've got some notes, but I'm also just going to kind of riff and see, where it goes from here. So the thing that I've been saying every day for the past few days, and I'm going to say it again because it's so important and it is something you have to hear over and over and over again, and that is you are already worthy, right? You were born worthy, you are born good enough, and it is not you that changes this, right? You are born feeling good, feeling worthy, feeling good enough, and it gets taken away from you over the course of your life because of things you're taught, things you learn, things you experience, things people say to you, things you see society saying, all that stuff. But if those things were all taken away, if they were all removed, you would just get back to your natural state, which is worthiness, right? Worthiness, abundance, feeling good, that is the natural order of the universe. And it is our human life, right? Us humans that create something other than that. So abundance is really all there is. It's just that humans create stories and make up beliefs and things that take that away from them, right? That make them not have that experience anymore. But at the core of all of us, without all that, all those limiting beliefs, all those limiting stories and things that we've been taught and told our whole lives, we just feel worthy. We just are abundant. We just feel good enough because that is who we naturally are. And you can see this just by looking at nature as an example, right? So obviously abundance is everywhere in nature, abundance of trees, leaves, water, all these things. And it's also the natural order of the entire universe. So it's not like the universe doesn't struggle to grow trees. It doesn't struggle to grow grass and to have the oceans. It doesn't struggle for any of that stuff. It's just there. It just happens naturally because that's how it is. The seasons don't struggle to come out. If you live in a place where you actually have seasons, I do. I live in a place where we have 4 actual seasons. It just happens naturally, right? It just happens in the perfect timing and it just happens naturally. And they don't have to do anything, right? The universe doesn't have to figure anything out or, because it just knows. This is the natural order. Worthiness, feeling good enough. You're not seeing the trees be I'm not really sure if I'm good enough to grow this season. I think I might just stay in the ground for another year. That doesn't happen, right? It just naturally occurs. The trees just grow, the grass just grows, all these things because that is the natural order of our universe. And guess what? You are part of the universe, right? You are part of the entire thing. So for that reason, you are already worthy. And just in case you needed another reminder, I actually wore my I'm Enough shirt today because I felt it was kind of the perfect message for the day and to wrap up this series that we've been doing. So, it's something you have to reclaim for yourself, your worthiness, your feeling good enough, because that is who you naturally are, unless you got things that sort of get in the way of that. So today, to help you reclaim that, I'm going to talk about one of my absolute favorite ways to manifest things, to create things, to step back into things you want to reclaim for yourself. And the easiest, best way that I know to do any of that stuff is first to let go of anything that gets in the way or blocks it, right? So any beliefs, any negative thoughts, any subconscious programming that you have. So we talked a little bit about this in day 2 yesterday. But any of that stuff that covers up, that buries, that blocks your feeling worthy, that shit has to go. That shit has to go right now. Because if you don't get rid of that stuff, it's just going to keep being your life story. That you don't get the things you want, that you don't feel good enough, that you don't get to have the things you want because you don't feel good enough, right? And all of this stuff. So the first thing is really to make sure that you are getting rid of that old stuff, getting rid of the old baggage, the old stories, the old beliefs, like all of those things that no longer serve you and that do not align with you being somebody who is worthy, right? Who sees themselves as worthy. The other thing, before I get into the second part of this, is that worthiness is not something you have to earn. Now, I've said this the past couple of days as well, but I'm going to keep saying it because, like I said, repetition, first of all, for your subconscious mind, but then also because it's something that so many of us get caught up in, especially like if you are an online entrepreneur, if you own a business, or if you do any kind of creative stuff, like you get stuck in thinking that your worth, your value as a person is defined by the work you do in the world, by the goals that you have, that you actually achieve, the achievements that you make, the milestones you achieve, like all these things. We tell ourselves like, oh, if I earn the degrees and if I do all this stuff, like then I'll be good enough for whatever it is you want. But the truth is you don't need any of that stuff. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to work for it. You just get to be worthy and that's it. Now, of course, if there's things you want to do, yeah, go do them, right? And have fun and enjoy it because that's the point of life, is to enjoy your journey and to have a good time and to feel good in the process of getting wherever it is you want to go. But getting where you want to go is not a prerequisite for worthiness. It is not a prerequisite for you to have to achieve something or get to a certain point in your life or make a certain amount of money or whatever to feel worthy, to reclaim your worthiness. You just get to take it back right now, right? You just get to own it right now and take it back because it's yours. It's always been there and it's still there right now. So the second part of how you reclaim your worthiness, like I said, the first part is that you get rid of the subconscious programming, you get rid of the BS stories, the limiting beliefs that you've been telling yourself all these years that stop you from having that feeling of worthiness, right? And maybe worthiness isn't the greatest word for you. Maybe you're like, I don't really resonate with that. Not good enough, or feeling good enough is another one. So if you want to feel good enough, you want to have confidence, if you want to have certainty in yourself, if you want to have that inner knowing that like you're good and you don't have to worry or stress or anything like that, like that comes from creating that feeling of worthiness and reclaiming it. And when you have the feeling of worthiness, then you'll have confidence, you'll have certainty, you'll have knowing that you don't have to worry, right? That you're good and you're taken care of and you are supported by, a universe that absolutely loves you and absolutely wants you to have everything you desire. But you have to feel that way too, because if you don't, the universe can only bring you more of whatever it is you feel. And that's it. So that is why you have to reclaim your worthiness, because when you feel worthy, when you feel confident, when you feel good enough, you will be open to receiving the things that you desire in life. And that is just the truth. So when I made the decision to reclaim my worthiness, to reclaim, I had done that in my own, like my business and my career many, many years ago. But 2 years ago when I got divorced, so that was 2019, almost 2 years ago now, and that whole thing went down, I decided, okay, it's time for me to reclaim my worthiness. It's time for me to step back into that worthy being that I know I actually am, and that has just been covered up all these years because of the bullying that I went through as a child and the, just all the different situations that made me feel not good enough, that made me feel unworthy. And so when I reworked all that stuff, right? So I reprogrammed my subconscious mind. I got rid of those old stories. I created new stories about myself, like doing all the things, right? So I did the inner work, the hard stuff that most people don't want to do. And because I did that in other areas of my life, so not just my business and career, but love and relationships and, all kinds of stuff, like I was able to create the life that I really want. And of course, there's still more. There's always more. But right now I'm like the happiest I've ever been, in the most like aligned place I've ever been in every area. So like not just my business, which is how it used to be, just one area. Now it's all areas, right? I have an amazing relationship. I have an amazing place that I get to live. I have amazing friends and family. I have an amazing business and clients and all that stuff. So, but that wasn't the case 2 years ago. And even before that, like that wasn't the case. It took me stepping into that worthiness again, reclaiming that worthiness. And when I did that, all of the other things outside myself started to match it, because your external reality is simply a reflection of what's going on inside. So you are cause, your external reality is effect, not the other way around, which is what most people think. And so they look for external things to validate their worthiness. They go, oh, well, I got a great grade on that test, so I must be worthy. Or, I made that goal, I made that happen, or I made a bunch of money this month, or whatever. And then we also do the opposite. which is when that doesn't happen, right? So when you don't hit your goal, when you don't achieve something, when you don't hit the milestone that you think you should hit, like you start to make that mean that you aren't worthy or that there's something not good enough about you. But that's just nonsense. It's simply just the feeling that you have inside that's subconsciously programmed, and you're just seeing reflections of it externally. So when you change the inner programming, your external reflection will change to match it. But it doesn't work the other way around. So you cannot do things in your external reality to create worthiness inside, because no matter what you do externally, it's still not going to be enough to create that feeling inside. And you need that feeling inside for it to actually be a real thing, right? For it to not be temporary, for it to not be something that comes for a little while and then goes away. If you want it to be permanent, if you want it to stay, if you want to feel that way for the rest of your life, it takes doing the inner work, right? Doing the reprogramming work, the stuff that most people don't want to do because it is hard and it is confronting and it is challenging. But you don't always have to do it alone, right? You can hire a coach. Hi, I can help you. But you can hire a coach. You can find a group of people to, work with. You can find other people who are on a similar journey to you and get some accountability and some support in doing this. Like there's all different things you can do. You could work with a therapist. You could work with, someone who's really good at subconscious reprogramming. Like you could work with a bunch of different people or, read books or watch videos. Like there's so many things you can do to tap back into and reclaim that feeling for yourself. There's all different ways that you can do it. But my favorite ways, like I said, so you obviously have to do the inner work. That is a mandatory no matter what, because without doing the inner work and creating the feeling of worthiness inside, it's just not going to happen on the outside. It's going to be temporary, or it's going to just be sort of like here and then, so that's not what you want. You want it to be something that's permanent and that sticks around. So do the inner work, create at cause, and your external reality will eventually match it. And then the other thing, the second part of what I think works insanely well to reclaim your worthiness and to reclaim that feeling good enough is to get really clear on what it is that version of you looks like, right? That version of you, like think about, and this is a good journal prompt too, is what would the worthy as fuck version of me be, do, have, wear, how would they act, how would they talk, what things would they stop doing, what things would they do more of, what habits would they have, what habits would they stop, and just think about this for yourself. Like if you were 100% a version of you that felt worthy, that felt good enough, what would you be like, right? Like what would you be like? What would you look like? What would you act like? How would you talk? What are the things you would believe? Like all that stuff. So get really clear on that. And then you just act as if. You just act as if it's already true, right? You just act as if it's already true, because guess what? It is already true. As we've been talking about for the past few days, and I mentioned it again today, right? You are born worthy. There's nothing you have to do. There's nothing you have to earn. You are born worthy. You are already good enough just as you are. So that is the truth. And that doesn't change even if you have some beliefs and things that cover that up. Like it's still true and it's still inside you. So act as if it's true, right? So do the things you would do if you were the worthy version of yourself. If you were the version of yourself you see as being worthy, right? Whatever that looks like for you, it's going to be different for everybody. So if you can really just tap into that, get clear on it, and then act as if. So start to just act as the worthy version of you, which means there might be things you have as a habit right now where you're like, well, if I felt worthy, I would definitely not be doing those habits. Boom, those habits are gone now. You get to do something different in the place of that, right? So those habits are now done. Maybe there's people in your life who make you feel unworthy, who treat you not that great and make you just feel shitty sometimes. Bye-bye. Those people get to go away now. Act as if you are the version of you who feels worthy and get rid of anything that blocks it, that gets in the way, that stops it, that becomes a barrier to it. Just get rid of it. And if you start to do that more and more, so releasing the stuff that doesn't align, acting as if you're already there, acting as if you're already that version of you, very soon after doing that, you will be, right? You will be that version of you. You will not only feel worthy, you will be worthy, right? You already are worthy, but you will feel that way, right? So you will also feel, yes, I am worthy. It's not just a feeling now, it's a belief I have. It's something I truly believe and claim for myself. So that is how to reclaim your worthiness. And like I said, it's not something that happens overnight. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to do this one time and it's going to be done and that's it. No, of course, it takes time. It takes practice. It takes really being consistent for an extended period of time. and being willing and committed to doing the hard stuff, which is the inner work, dealing with those old beliefs, dealing with those old stories you've been telling about yourself for so long, dealing with whatever happened to you back in the day, whatever trauma or things you have going on that, obviously are not happening now, but happened previously, that you are still using as a reason to feel unworthy. So one of my things was, like I said, I got bullied my entire childhood. So that was a reason that I told myself I wasn't worthy. Like, well, people don't like me and I'm not, I'm not cool. I'm not a person that people like to be around. So like, I must not be worthy, right? I must not be good enough. But again, that was just a story. That was just something I was telling myself. It wasn't actually true. So once I decided to tell a different story, right? So tell the story of how I actually wanted it to be, that's when things started to change, not only internally, but externally as well. So that is what I'm going to leave you with for today. Your journal prompt, the last thing I would say is, what would the worthy AF version of me do, be, have? How would they act? What would they believe? What would their habits be, etc., right? So just really go through all the different areas of your life, of whatever else is important to you, and ask yourself, if I was already the worthy version of me, which again, you're already worthy, but you have to believe that. So if you already believe that, what would your life be like? What would you be like on a day-to-day basis? Like, who would be in your life? Who wouldn't be, etc. So you just go from that place, and the clearer you can get, the easier it's going to be to step into it, because you'll know exactly what you need to do, right? You'll get really clear on it. And that's really the first step to moving in the direction of reclaiming that worthiness. So keep at it. You got this. It doesn't take a lot of work, but it does take consistency. It does take commitment, and it does take the willingness to believe something outside of the nonsense BS beliefs and stories that you've had your whole life, or that you've had for however long. Because that's really the key, is being willing to give yourself permission to now feel worthy, to reclaim your worthiness, and to do it without needing anything externally to validate it. You got to create that for yourself. If you're always looking for the external validation, sometimes it might be there, but sometimes it might not be. And when it's not there, then what? Then you start to feel unworthy again? Nonsense. Complete nonsense. Don't do that to yourself, right? Don't have conditional worthiness. Don't create conditional worthiness for yourself where you can only be worthy if I have a certain amount of money, if I have a certain amount of clients, if I'm successful in a certain way, if I have XYZ thing, if I'm whatever. No conditions, just worthy. And that's it. So that is what I'm going to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining me for this 3-part video series, and I hope you got a lot out of it. I would love to hear from you. Just share with me what came up for you. What is one thing you're going to do now to move in the direction of reclaiming your worthiness? I would love to hear. So comment below. If you're watching the replay, I will definitely come back and check them out, so feel free to comment. And if you are ready to have some support, some guidance, someone to really be a stand for your worthiness, then be sure to send me a private message, and I will send you info about working with me one-on-one for 6 weeks to really reprogram your subconscious mind, to create new stories about yourself and your life, and to really uncover and get rid of those limiting beliefs and those negative thoughts, those negative programs, and any other things that are getting in the way of you feeling worthy, of you having that worthiness for yourself. Because I absolutely 100% without a doubt believe you are worthy. I believe I am, and I believe you are. And I can be your certainty when you aren't there yet, right? So I can really be the certainty and the mirror that you need to show you that you are worthy, that you are valuable, and that you have something to add to the world just by being who you are. So send me a private message right now, and I will send you all the details about working with me one-on-one. That is it for me, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, remember, feeling good is the point and the path.